What's going on, guys? Today is March 16th, 2026. Back here with another new workshop today, and we're going to be going over world building, essentially what world building means, at least to me, in the sense of creating albums and projects, is coming up with themes surrounding those albums or projects. And this is something I've tried to do really since the start with my first instrumental project that was called Life Test. And I did Life Test 1, 2, and 3 that year. And that was kind of the first beginning stages of me coming up with my own concepts and kind of just run with that. And now I'm about 12 projects in and counting. And I've kind of tried to make that whole world building element a big part of what I do. And it kind of allows me to create rollouts around whatever themes I come up with. That could be merch, that could be the album itself, the title, the cover, pretty much every type of piece of content that's created for it. And so what I want to do today is kind of touch on a little bit of this article that I found by VIRPP, which is VERP. Never heard of this website before, but this article was pretty interesting, and it's called Strategies for Successful Album Releases. But what I want to do is kind of lightly cover these points and then talk about the ways that they relate specifically to that idea of world building, because they could relate to just a normal, rollout and not really thinking about building a theme. But I'll talk about each one and then try to tie it in with my own experience of, developing themes and then executing those in the release, and what I've seen and what you guys might be able to use yourself in your own release. So I'm not going to go into each little detail. I don't want to make this too long today, but we're going to cover each point, and then I'm kind of just going to touch lightly on it, like I said. So number one is the pre-release buzz, creating anticipation before your album drops. Generating pre-release buzz sets the tone for the entire release campaign. Single releases, teasers and trailers, behind-the-scenes content, and press and PR, reaching out to those people. I've done a little bit of all of these so far. I think the best examples I can give for these are the most recent projects. So let's say from Unknown Advantage, Leaves in Soil, When Love's the Motive. Those are my last 3 instrumental albums, and I've kind of followed the same pattern for each one. 3 singles before, right? So I start about 4 months before the project comes out, and I give people a song a month from the album. I've been picking 3 because all these projects I'm doing are 10 songs. So to me, 3 is like the sweet spot for what I want to give people before they hear the full thing. Because to me, that gives them a good enough idea of the sound after three singles, and it kind of gives them time to catch up. You give them a 3-month head start, and while you're doing that, you're also doing visualizers. What I've done is each one of those singles, do a visualizer on YouTube, post it to social media, send out a little bit of an email campaign for each one, usually just a release day reminder, and then sometimes a separate one for the visualizer, but a lot of the times I've just been including that in that email. So that way they can go to DSPs, check it out, or they can just go to YouTube and watch the visualizer, or both. So that's been my kind of pre-release strategy. For the instrumental albums, I'm not doing a ton of PR in general, and a lot of the PR that I do is post-release. But if you're trying to build hype on whatever it is, you definitely want to come up with, a different, well, not really different, you kind of just want to come up with a way to describe your album based on the theme and based on that story that you're trying to tell. So really get clear about what it is you're trying to convey with the project. And then I would just start writing ideas down and try to formulate some type of a press release that looks pretty good. I wouldn't send everybody the same copy and paste press release. I'd probably try to switch it up a little bit, like reword some things. Don't just copy and paste and send it to everybody. Like really get specific based on that platform. And if they ask you for more details too, like certain platforms will ask you for certain details, other ones won't. So just be able to provide what they want, and then just provide something that's unique and something that doesn't feel like you just either went into ChatGPT and typed it out, or something you've been sending to everybody. Like, be unique about it. And obviously we've touched on this before, like reaching out to anybody, you gotta be a little unique in how you do it. Like, don't just spam them, put your personality in there, all that stuff we've talked about in the past. So that for me is my pre-release strategy. Not a ton going on other than doing the singles for me, but this could look totally different for you. It just depends on your goals for whatever project this is. Number 2 is engage the audience, or your audience. Gauging your existing fan base and expanding it is vital to the success of your release. Create engaging content to share with fans. This includes social media campaigns, pre-order campaigns, exclusive content, fan involvement. So going back to my last 3 projects, they've all been pre-released with Even, or early released with a platform called Even that we've talked about before as well. It's a direct-to-consumer based platform similar to Bandcamp, a little bit different. The whole idea is to get people to pay. Usually it's $2 or more, but you can set it to whatever you want. I always set it to pay what you want. And the incentive is you'll get exclusive merch that you can't get anywhere else, things like that. And this is kind of where, for me at least, this whole content thing comes into play, more so than just the visualizers. It's really explaining the story of your project through the end goal of what you're trying to get the audience to do. So, for me, what it is getting them to sign up for the wait list usually. And that includes, just putting their email into Even's website and signing up. And I create a whole video around that. I explain the whole thing. I also explain the release date, like when it will actually be available, and obviously what they're gonna get out of it, which is usually it's a free piece, well, not a free piece of merch, but it's an exclusive piece of merch that they can't get anywhere else. And I make it very clear, like, you cannot get whatever this is anywhere else. I'm not gonna sell it to you elsewhere. You're not gonna get it anywhere but Even. So you have to go to Even to have access to it. So you have to kind of tie things in. And again, this is very broad. I'm just giving you my experience, but you're trying to tie things in to get people interested. And that's the big thing with, I think, promoting any type of project. Even if you're not selling merch or selling it to someone, you got to get them hooked somehow. So if it's like a trailer for your album, how are you going to get them hooked? Is it the visuals? Are you going to get them hooked with a preview of the song, one of the songs? Is it both? Are you going to try to do some type of visual audio mashup and figure things out? You might do behind the scenes of making the album, like a clip of you working on the album or something. Great example, just today I saw one of my favorite producers, Black Milk, from Detroit, amazing artist and producer. He's about to drop a new album, and what he did today was go in and show a clip of him in the studio working on the album, and then he showed some images of the process of creating the album. So it's like that right there, something as simple as that gets people excited, and your fans that you already have, they know what's coming, or you're letting them know, so now they're getting informed, and hopefully they're sharing that with the new fans too. And word of mouth, all that good stuff starts to take place, it takes shape. But I think that would all tie into all these points though. Exclusive content, fan involvement. The other one is pre-order campaign, which again, technically Even, what I've done is a pre-order, but it's a little different than a traditional iTunes or Spotify pre-save. But those are fine too. You have to just get clear about what you want the person to do. So whatever piece of content you're putting out, you got to make sure the messaging is clear and you're telling them exactly what to do. You don't want to be super you don't want to be super rude. You don't want to be rude in general, but you want to be direct, with them. You want to have like a conversation, look in the camera like I'm doing right now, like talk to them like a person, you know what I mean? So it's just those little details that can go a long way. So if you're putting together anything to get people interested, that is obviously something you want to consider. And that goes into the third point, which is making compelling visuals. I try to include, background with my video. So I usually put like a picture in the background and make the video a little smaller to kind of get people's attention through the background. Because I'm not always like recording in front of an interesting background myself. So if I don't do that, I might put it in front of some type of colorful picture or whatever. So my next project is actually all about like art, like murals and stuff. So what I did, and I haven't unveiled this yet, but what I did is I put the videos I made on top of like mural backgrounds. So that right there is going to get somebody's attention for sure, because it's bright colors, it's patterns, it's painting, like that gets your attention, obviously. So that's exactly what I had in mind. It was like, if someone's just scrolling, even if they're just doom scrolling, it's like, how are you going to get their attention? How are you going to get them to stop on your video? And it might not be, you might not use the same technique as me. Maybe it's just the actual video or the actual audio with the video or both, that's going to get them interested. But just find ways to hook them in, and then everything else will take care of itself as long as you did those first few points too. Collaborate and partner. That would mean obviously if you have collaborators on your project, could be producers, features, whatever, get them involved. And that's another thing I'm going to be doing real soon. Got a compilation album coming out in the second half of the year. I plan on hopefully getting a good amount of those people involved in the rollout, because that is even more ways that people will hear about your project. And if it's a collab project with someone else, let's say it's you and one other artist, you guys should just be splitting everything 50-50 anyway. You should always do collab posts on Instagram. I saw that YouTube apparently has collaborations now, which is super clutch. I haven't utilized this yet, but I really want to figure out how to start utilizing that. So use those features, repost each other's stuff on your pages, and just, you can post the same content, and each one of you can even do your own individual content to help promote the project. So their possibilities are endless for that. We've talked about that as well on a past workshop too. Build anticipation through teasers. That kind of goes into what we talked about. It's up to you what you want to post. You don't have to post a full song. You can post a snippet, whether it's like recorded on a phone or it's actually the studio version that's been mixed or mastered or whatever. Totally up to you. The world is your oyster on that one. Utilize streaming platforms. Again, if you're releasing to streaming platforms only, you'll be utilizing like Spotify pre-save. Maybe you still do the iTunes pre-order. I don't think anybody uses that anymore, but even Apple Music has like a pre-ad feature, things like that. And then if you're using like Bandcamp or a direct-to-consumer platform, you just have to educate the people on how to use those platforms and why that's different than using Spotify, Apple, any of those other streaming platforms. Definitely let them know why they should do that. Virtual and live events to celebrate the release. This could be obviously listening parties. So like, if you are able to do an in-person one, maybe in your town or city or whatever, if you have the way to pull the audience, like definitely do it. I, for one, I don't have that type of buzz, at least not at this time. So I'm not doing like super big release parties. I definitely want to do a Bandcamp release party for one of my upcoming projects. And that's going to be more of an experiment just to see how it goes. I could definitely be the only one in there. I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know what's going to happen. But basically, Bandcamp allows you to do release parties virtually, where it plays your whole album and you can chat with people and things like that. So features like that on that platform, very cool. But you could come up with all kinds of different things. You could do Facebook Live, YouTube, TikTok, whatever, to play the album, hang out with people. You used to be able to do Instagram Live, but obviously now you have to have a certain amount of followers to even do live. So they kind of ruined that, but there's a ton of options, whatever you decide on. And then one of the biggest keys, or one of the biggest points, the final point, post-release engagement. And I have come to find that post-release anything, content, engagement, it's the most important stuff, because I think we do so much work trying to get people to pre-save and, pre-add and all this stuff. But if the music's not out, they're gonna forget about it 9 times out of 10 anyway. I've honestly found more success by, and this goes for anything, trying to get on a podcast, trying to get an article, trying to get a playlist ad, whatever it is. Like, I have much more success rate's higher when the music's already out. So that way they can hear it and they can then decide if they want to use it in whatever way it is. So that's just what I found doing my own releases. I don't get a lot of results by sending things that aren't already released. So I'm doubling down on post-release content, post-release engagement, post-release everything. Like, my whole content strategy for the next few projects is heavy on the post-release, because I know I'll actually be able to push something that's already released to people. So that is a huge thing. I think that's a great way to end it right there. And then they have some FAQs on this article you can check out. They have a conclusion, like paragraph at the end. But that's pretty much it. I just didn't go into the full breakdown of everything for them, but I wanted to give it to you guys in the way that I relate to it, and maybe you can relate to some of that as well. But if you've never thought about this stuff, that's a big way to do it. But the whole point I'm trying to make is that you have to get clear about what is your actual album, what is the story you're trying to tell with whatever it is. It could even be a song. I think world building to me just means thematically, what are you trying to do? You wouldn't go see a movie that has no theme to it or has no story to it, because you wouldn't have much of a movie to see. So it's the same thing. It's like, if your art really tells a story, make everything else surrounding it tell the same story to match, and let people know why they should care about it, and therefore they might care more about it. So that's all I had. That was just something I felt like pretty passionate about, as you could tell, but it's one thing that I am gonna stick with in my own releases, and I just love it. Like, it's very fun to come up with these concepts and then start executing them, even if it takes like a year or two. That's the most fun part, is just coming up with things. And I'm in the midst of that right now with a few of those projects I talked about that are coming up here in the second half of the year. I've had just a blast coming up with ways to do the rollout. So just some food for thought. And that's pretty much all I had. Like I said, check out the article. It's by Verp, which again, I don't know Verp, but album releases, strategies for successful album releases. It'll be in the link will be in the description of the video. Check it out, and then we will be back in 2 weeks with another good topic that I now have some more things to speak on about it, and that is paying for features, which is something that is heavily debated, I think, across all genres. Should you pay other artists to be on your song? And I have some new takes on that based on some recent experiences. So I'll give you guys that in 2 weeks. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hopefully you get something out of it. Check out the article. And have a great rest of the week out there. Stay safe, stay positive as always. We'll see you on the 30th with the next one. Until then, take care, guys.